At a NATO airbase in western Germany, the alliance's Secretary-General, Mark Rutte, has expressed support for the German government's newly approved model of voluntary military service. The measure is designed to support the German armed forces at a time when recruitment shortfalls continue to challenge national defence planning. The visit to Geilenkirchen comes as NATO continues to emphasise force readiness across the alliance. The base, located near the borders of the Netherlands and Belgium, hosts NATO airborne warning and control system aircraft, which provide surveillance and command capabilities for Allied missions. Rutte's tour included briefings on current operational readiness and ongoing modernisation efforts within the air component. During his appearance at the installation, Rutte addressed the policy shift announced by Germany's coalition government. Officials in Berlin confirmed earlier this week that the governing parties had agreed on a new framework for voluntary military service. While full details of the plan have not yet been released publicly, leaders have indicated that the model aims to streamline recruitment procedures and encourage broader participation from eligible citizens. Rutte noted that recruitment strategies vary between NATO members and that each government determines its own system for attracting personnel. In his remarks, he acknowledged Germany's internal decision-making process while underscoring the importance of maintaining adequate troop levels across the alliance. He stated, "Each country decides for itself how to deal with the question of getting enough men and women into the military, but I'm very happy to hear that the coalition here in Germany has now agreed, as I understand it, on a way forward, and it is very important that this is a political agreement." The new German service concept follows months of debate within the coalition about how to address declining enlistment numbers. The Bundeswehr has reported persistent challenges in filling positions across both combat and support roles. German officials have repeatedly emphasised the need for a more flexible entry model to attract applicants with diverse skill sets suited to modern defence requirements. Rutte's visit comes at a time when European NATO members are working to reinforce their national forces and meet defence commitments adopted at recent alliance summits. The Secretary-General has used public appearances throughout the year to highlight the need for sustainable personnel pipelines alongside increased defence spending and modernisation. Following his comments on German policy, Rutte added that from NATO's perspective, any national decision that strengthens military participation contributes to the alliance's collective readiness. He said, "As NATO Secretary-General, I'm obviously always pleased when decisions are taken to encourage more people to join our military." The remarks were delivered during a short media availability at the base, which followed operational briefings and a review of facilities supporting NATO's surveillance aircraft fleet. Geilenkirchen serves as one of the alliance's central hubs for airborne early warning operations and regularly hosts multinational personnel involved in NATO missions. The new German service model is expected to move into implementation phases once legislative and administrative steps are completed. Officials in Berlin have indicated that the proposal is intended to remain voluntary, positioning it as an alternative to discussions within other European countries about forms of mandatory national service. In Germany, compulsory military service was suspended in 2011, and the latest plan does not alter that policy. However, the initiative reflects ongoing concern about personnel shortages that have affected training schedules, deployment planning and the long-term structure of the Bundeswehr. German defence leaders have said in recent months that recruitment trends must improve in order to meet both national security needs and NATO obligations. Rutte's endorsement carries symbolic significance as Germany continues to increase its role within the alliance. Over the past 2 years, Berlin has taken steps to expand defence spending, supply equipment to NATO missions and participate in alliance-wide readiness initiatives. NATO officials have consistently emphasised the role of major European economies in sustaining collective defence arrangements. During the visit, alliance personnel briefed Rutte on current monitoring operations and on the status of upgrades to NATO's airborne warning and control system platform. The AWACS fleet remains a key element of the alliance's surveillance architecture, providing situational awareness and command support for missions in Europe and beyond. Germany hosts major components of this fleet, making Geilenkirchen a strategic site for NATO air operations. The Secretary-General's comments on German recruitment policy align with broader NATO messaging, encouraging member states to maintain robust force structures. As security dynamics in Europe continue to evolve, the alliance has focused heavily on readiness, mobility, and personnel capacity. Recruitment efforts have been a consistent topic across member states as militaries seek to compete for skilled applicants in tight labour markets. The German coalition government's agreement on the new voluntary model followed internal negotiations concerning the scope, duration, and incentives associated with service, while additional details are expected from the German Defence Ministry. Initial statements from coalition leaders emphasise the goal of expanding opportunities for citizens to participate in national defence without altering the current voluntary framework. Rutte's reference to the political nature of the agreement underscores the significance of cross-party consensus in shaping Germany's military personnel strategy. Coalition governments in Berlin often require extended deliberation before adopting security or defence reforms, making the announcement noteworthy within the context of national policy making. At Geilenkirchen, Rutte also acknowledged the operational contributions of German personnel serving at NATO facilities. The base, staffed by multinational teams, continues to operate as an essential component of the alliance's integrated air and missile defence structure. Its surveillance missions support both routine operations and crisis response activities. The visit forms part of a series of engagements by Rutte since assuming the role of NATO Secretary-General. His tenure has included consultations with member governments on defence spending commitments, force posture adjustments, and evolving security challenges. Germany remains one of the alliance's key contributors, and personnel policy developments in Berlin are closely watched by NATO planners. The newly announced service model aims to simplify entry procedures and provide clearer pathways into military roles, according to government officials familiar with the discussions. Advocates of the system argue that predictable and transparent recruitment mechanisms can help address long-standing challenges within the Bundeswehr's human resources structure. German defence leaders have expressed concern about demographic trends, workforce competition, and the need for specialised technical skills across the force. Modern military requirements increasingly depend on cyber capabilities, advanced engineering, and digital communication systems, making recruitment broader and more complex than in previous decades. Rutte's public support may help reinforce Germany's efforts to implement a durable recruitment framework. NATO has repeatedly emphasised that member states benefit collectively when national forces meet mandated strength levels and maintain operational readiness. While the Secretary-General did not comment on specific elements of the German proposal, his remarks focused on the importance of political unity and the value of policies that encourage service. He highlighted that individual member states are responsible for determining their own personnel structures, but that all decisions supporting recruitment ultimately contribute to alliance stability. The German coalition's decision is expected to be followed by further announcements from the Defence Ministry outlining timelines, administrative procedures, and the roles envisioned for volunteers under the new model. The Bundeswehr is also expected to review training capacity and resource requirements associated with any increase in volunteer intake. Rutte's appearance at Geilenkirchen included meetings with commanders overseeing surveillance operations. The AWACS programme is one of NATO's oldest and most recognisable multinational aviation components, and it continues to undergo modernisation to maintain relevance in evolving airspace environments. The Secretary-General received updates on technical upgrades, interoperability efforts and mission planning. Geilenkirchen has traditionally served as a link between NATO's operational requirements and its multinational staffing structure. Personnel from multiple member states support the airborne surveillance missions launched from the base, making it a visible example of alliance cooperation. The German service model debate has unfolded against the backdrop of broader discussions within NATO about force readiness and burden sharing. Several member states have reviewed or revised their national service policies in recent years, responding to shifting security needs and recruitment trends. Germany's approach emphasises voluntary participation, aligning with long-standing political preferences while addressing current personnel constraints. Rutte's comments reflect the alliance's interest in ensuring that all members maintain sustainable troop numbers. While NATO does not dictate recruitment policies, it monitors national force levels as part of readiness assessments and defence planning processes. As the German government moves forward with implementation, it will likely face administrative challenges associated with scaling up training capacity, expanding outreach programmes, and streamlining enrolment systems. Defence officials have said that improving recruitment outcomes is essential to meeting both domestic defence requirements and NATO commitments. Rutte's visit to Geilenkirchen provided an opportunity to highlight ongoing cooperation between NATO and Germany. His remarks on the service model emphasise that national decisions aligned with broader alliance goals support collective security efforts. The Secretary-General concluded his comments by reiterating the importance of initiatives that increase military participation across member states. His statement as NATO Secretary-General, I am obviously always pleased when decisions are taken to encourage more people to join our military, underscored the alliance's ongoing focus on personnel readiness. The German coalition's agreement represents the latest development in national defence planning and will remain a subject of attention as details emerge in the coming months. The implementation of the voluntary service model is expected to influence recruitment trends and shape the Bundeswehr's future force structure. The visit to Geilenkirchen and Rutte's remarks reiterate NATO's emphasis on readiness, recruitment, and sustained political commitment among its members. The alliance continues to monitor personnel developments across all contributing nations as it adapts to evolving security conditions. The situation remains defined by Germany's decision to advance a voluntary military service model and NATO's continued focus on ensuring adequate force levels across the alliance.
Well, each country decides for themselves how to deal with the question of getting enough men and women into the military, but I'm very happy to hear that the coalition here in Germany has now agreed, as I understand it, on a way forward, and that is very important, that there is a political agreement, political Einigung, but obviously as NATO Secretary General I'm always happy when decisions are taken to get more people involved in our military.